also in Washington, Republican Representative James Comer is calling out the FBI for refusing to comply with a subpoena in regard to an investigation into alleged misconduct from the Biden family. Comer was following up on a request earlier in the month to FBI Director Christopher Wray, wanting the agency to turn over what's called an FD 1023 form. Allegedly, it describes criminal activity between then Vice President Biden and a foreign national. An unnamed FBI whistleblower is confident the form would incriminate the now president, alerting House Republicans of its existence. The FBI has refused to hand over any documents, missing the deadline to comply, citing strict policies on how to handle confidential information. Joining us right now, Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin. Thank you for being here with us. We know that obviously this is a big story. Our correspondent, Joe Khalil, finding out the FBI met with House Oversight Committee staff. As a member of that committee, can you tell us anything about those talks?
Well, it concerns a subpoena of a form that is an unverified, uncorroborated tip form that somebody turns into the FBI. So the majority on the committee has tried to subpoena that form, although they haven't asked for what the FBI's evaluation or analysis of the tip was or anything they did in response to it. So I think it's much ado about nothing. We continue to see that there are efforts to create a cloud around the president. Nothing so far has worked, and a bunch of us feel as if we're on a wild goose chase here. But obviously, we would like this administration to do what the last administration did not do, which is to cooperate with subpoenas when they're in the proper order. Of course, President Trump categorically said he was telling all of the agencies not to cooperate with any subpoenas from the Judiciary Committee or the Oversight Committee. So there's been a lot more cooperation from this administration, and I assume that there will be, but we've got a responsibility to be comprehensive in the kinds of information we're seeking.
But does it alarm you at all, or would it be something that should alarm Americans that the FBI is refusing to comply? Or would it be more alarming that they're being subpoenaed at all?
Well, again, I found it alarming when the last administration said that when the president ordered all of the agencies and departments under his command not to comply in any way with requests for information and documents coming from the U.S. Congress. That was an absolute violation of his duties. So this administration is doing far better in terms of complying. I don't know what the story is with this particular document, but I think it has limited investigative utility because, again, it is just a document where somebody sends in an unverified, uncorroborated tip. And if we're going to seek that, we should be looking for what was the FBI's response? Did they check it out? And what did they understand from the situation? None of that has been asked for by the majority. And we were, of course, were not consulted by the majority before they rendered that subpoena. And again, that's unusual. I mean, one would hope that the majority and the minority would be working together, but so much we've been kept in the dark on Chairman Comer's attempt to investigate the Biden family, Hunter Biden, and so on.
Well, setting aside the form, what evidence would be needed to say, you know what, maybe we should look into then Vice President Biden, obviously he's now President Biden, or his son? What would it take for Democrats to say, you know what, we should at least take a look at this? This is concerning.
Well, of course, these investigations have been going on for years now in the Senate, in the House, and they've turned up information about different accounts that Hunter Biden had, allegations about what's on his laptop. But of course, they haven't shared the laptop or the hard drive with us. So we haven't been able to look at any of it. So I would love to be able to look at that to see what sorts of leads we should follow, but they've not been shared with the Democrats. So we're in the dark like most of the country is. But one thing we know is that none of it has been linked to President Biden. There have been witnesses who've said President Biden had nothing to do with Hunter Biden's own personal business dealings, and there have been no allegations that President Biden was involved in any of the son's business activities that have been backed up by any evidence. So we're still waiting to see it. Again, the majority controls the subpoenas, the majority controls the evidence, and we just haven't seen anything.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.